Hello everybody, my name is Animean, also known as Luke, and welcome back to another tutorial on Blender. And today I'm going to be showing you how you can create one of these medieval looking towers. Stay tuned everyone. Castle Tower add-on, also known as extras, are a great way for you to of course make simply castles or towers if you're looking to make those as well in this tutorial. Also, the extras add-on is a great way for you to add landscapes and other form of complex models that may be difficult for you to handle yourself. But in this tutorial we're going to be creating a very basic medieval tower, so let's get straight into it. So we have our 3D viewport as always, of course presenting the cube and of course the actual camera and the light source. But in this video we're going to be simply just deleting the cube, and then what we are going to do is you want to make sure that this is the most important part. So you want to go to edit on the top left hand corner and you want to go to preferences. Now this part is really important, so next what you want to do is select add-ons, and then you want to search up on the top right hand corner extra, EXTRA, and then you'll see an option where it says add mesh extra objects. You want to make sure that this box is ticked. Then you want to do is go to the bottom left hand corner. I'll move this along for you so you can all see. You will select these lines, or you can do save and load, and you can select that. You can select save preferences. So we want to close this down, and then we're going to go straight into actually making the actual model, of course. So what you want to do is you want to go to the top left hand corner, or for those like short keyboard shortcuts, do Shift A or add. You want to do mesh, and then you want to look for extras, as of course we added the add-on of extras. So we want to select extras, and you want to select wall factory. Now this is the wall that comes up or is presented. So what you want to do is you want to select the bottom left hand corner, and it will come up with loads of these options. So this is a way for you to edit, modify and adjust your wall however you like. So you may decide you want to make it a lot shorter, you may decide you want to make it a lot longer. So in this example we are going to make this value 30, or the end value in this example. So as we have now done that, our next step, and also you want to make sure that the start as well is -10 as well, so keep that at -10. So as we are now basically done with the castle wall that we want, we are now, what we're going to do is we're going to be making sure that our object is selected. We'll now go into edit mode, which is on the top left hand corner, or for those who like to do it, we'll select tab, and then it will bring up this option. Now you'll notice as you create the wall that there are lots of gaps in between this castle wall, or the bricks in this case. We want to make sure that those gaps aren't being presented. So what we want to do is want to do Alt and then scale, so Alt and then S, and you'll start to notice that I'm able to adjust it. And also what's really cool about this as well is that if I do Alt S, you may decide that for a video you're doing, you may decide you want to create a very geometric kind of like feel of a wall. Maybe it's really good if you decided to think of doing something like that. But in this case we are going to do Alt S, and what we're going to do is make sure that the castle walls are connected so that there are no gaps at all. So there, it looks perfectly fine. So you'll notice now that the bricks are overlapping each other. So that's something we want to achieve. So now we want to go back into the object mode. So we'll go top left hand corner, object mode. And of course now you'll start to see, as I move it to the side, there's a bit of detail being presented, and also there are no more gaps as well. So make sure that you don't have any gaps at all. Make sure that all these brick walls are connected. So now what we are going to do is we're going to go to the far right hand corner. We're going to go to the screwdriver, and that is the or modifier property. So we're going to select that. We're going to be adding a modifier, and we're going to make sure that we add the bevel modifier. So this I will explain to you all what this is, and basically it will add a bit of detail to it. So as you notice already, literally just by changing it, and if I simply remove it, you'll notice that the detail of the actual brick layers are gone. So we're going to make sure that we have this selected. So of course you can decide how you want to play with it, but in this case we're going to keep it simple how it is, and it's perfect the way it is, so keep it that way. So now we're going to add another modifier. So what we're going to add is we're going to add a simple deform modifier. So we're going to make sure that it's selected, and you'll start to notice as well that there's a bit of bending occurring. So you want to make sure that the word bend is selected on the simple deform. So we'll make sure that's selected, and you'll start to notice as well, as I change the angle or the value of the angle, you'll start to notice as I change it that the actual direction of how far the actual castle wall travels will of course change depending on the value. So in this instance, we want to make sure that it's in the right direction. So in this case, it is going in the for the Z axis, of course, depending on what it is that it is for you, we'll decipher what axis is, so X, Y, Z, so have a bit of a play around with this. But in this instance, it's going to be Z, so we're going to make sure that our angle is for the right value. So we're going to make sure that this is wrapped around. So of course, if you want to look at it from bird's eye view, you're more welcome to change the view. So we want to make sure that this value is at -360, which is of course a circle of degrees, or basically the circumference of a circle. And you'll start to notice as well around this point here that there's a bit of a gap being presented. Referring back to my point, making sure that all gaps are closed, because at the end of the day this is a castle, and a real castle has all the bricks connected together. So we'll make sure that this is a good value. So let's maybe try 3.65. There's a little bit of a gap there, so I would say -366. So -366 for good value. And now you'll start to see that the actual tower has now been closed off. So as we've now done that and it's been closed off, next we're going to add what's called an array modifier. So we're going to go to the add modifiers. Now it's the same tower, so remember that. It's at the very top and it's the array modifier. So I'm going to make sure that you can all see this as well, so I can see on my screen as well. You won't be needing any other properties about like the object properties. So next what you want to do is, so of course the array property deciphers how many towers you want. So in this example, we're going to maybe do 3, not 8. And once you've decided how many counts you want to make sure that your towers are connected like so as presented. So I recommend experimenting with the values, of course, presented. So on the array section of the X, Y, and Z value, of course. So for this example, we have put the Z value to 1.000, and we've put the rest of the values, the X and the Y axis, all to 0. So now you'll start to see that there is a bit of a tower going on. So of course you can decide how many towers you want to add it, not too high of course, because that's not how tall a tower looks, but make sure that it's at a relatively good height. So I would say maximum you want to add of the count value is 3. That's a good number. So next what we're going to do is go straight on to adding to the very final part of the top of the tower. So we're going to once again be going to Shift A, or on the top left hand corner add. So we'll do mesh, and then we'll select extras, and then we'll go wall factory. So you're probably thinking, what is the next step to this? Now this part is very important because there's something you should know about towers or castles. Those miniature brick gaps at the top of a tower, for where it has like a brick wall, then a gap, then a brick wall, then a gap. Those brick layers are known as what's called crenels. So as shown in the example, by selecting crenels, we've been able to adapt and apply these kind of brick layers. So it creates a brick layer, then a gap, brick layer, then a gap. So I would recommend for the value at 0.1 for this example. So then it'll create about 6 brick walls, which is of course looking really nice. So we're going to do the exact same thing as before. As always, we're going to be removing these gaps. So as I've already got what I wanted, also as well, one thing you can do is that you can also remove this gap as well, which I recommend you do as well, is by selecting the openings, which is that one. But so as you'll see here now, it basically looks like that. So up to you if you want to do that. In this case, we're going to be doing that, or the openings of that. So as we have now adjusted how we want our castle wall to look, we're going to do the exact same thing as before. I'm going to make sure that these are all basically set and closed together as before. For this stage that I have sped up for all of you, you want to make sure that you have with your crenel tower a bevel modifier, and once you've added that, make sure that you add a simple deform modifier and set the bend to the exact same value your tower is as well, depending on your axis and also your value. And also make sure that's in the right position, and also the loop around the tower is fully closed off. As we now have our tower how we want it to look, so of course doing the same process again, but instead you do not want to add an array. Now that's important because of course you don't want to add more than one tower this instance, because this is going to at the very top. So all you'll need to simply do is drag this all the way up to the top like so, and make sure that it is connected together quite nicely. So I'm going to move that up just slightly, and of course you're more than welcome to do N on your keyboard and making sure that the value of this is at a relatively good position. So that is a really good size, and it's actually looking really nice. Now on to the last stage of our tower or castle, however you are doing it. We are going to be adding one last modifier, and it's going to be called the voxel modifier, or the refresher modifier they call it. So we're going to be going to the add modifier, and we're going to look for remesh, sorry, I read that wrong, apologies. So you'll start to notice now that already some detail has been presented. So we want to make sure with this object selected, you want to make sure that the it is at voxel. We want to make sure that the voxel value is at 0.05, and eventually you'll start to pick up and show its detail. There we go. You'll start to see now there's a lot more details. Instead of adding smooth shader, this is a good way to add a bit of detail. And the same thing you want to do for this tower as well. You want to go to the add modifier, and you want to do the exact same process, remesh, and then you want to scroll down and then change the voxel size value to 0.05. And then you'll start to notice now that a lot more detail is being presented in the actual model design. So as I now see here, the actual tower looks a lot more detailed, as if there's been more detail being presented. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is the tower completed. That is how you create yourself a medieval tower with detail to make it look realistic in Blender. Thank you so much for watching this Blender tutorial. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, staying up to date of my latest videos, and I'll see you in the next Blender tutorial. Take care everyone.